I'm a huge baseball fan. When I was a teacher in Gainesville and didn't have much money, I went to Gator baseball games because bleacher tickets were free and the scorecards cost 50 cents. The first date my husband took me to was to a Rays game. And when we got married, we bought Rays season tickets instead of going on a honeymoon. I keep a scorecard down to the individual pitch. I am pretty much the target market for a new Rays stadium in Tampa. I could ride my bike to games if this proposal went through, but we should reject it because it's a ripoff for Tampa taxpayers. So today, we're going to play Mythbusters with Rays Stadium proposal to explain why it's a ripoff for taxpayers and to confront what this deal really means. Myth number one. The stadium plan will bring 12,000 new jobs and $50 to $80 billion in increased revenue. These numbers are fabricated. Actual peer-reviewed studies by real economists show no tangible impacts of new stadiums on local economic activity. It's basically the one thing all economists, from Marxists to the Chicago School, agree upon. Economist Alan Sanderson said you generate more economic activity by throwing $1 billion out of a helicopter. The reality is that money that could be spent in or around the stadium is money that is currently being spent doing something else in the area. The jobs that are created are filled by people who are already doing that job on some other project, or in the service industry where they're simply serving the same customer in a different establishment. As for increased tourism, the new stadium has a negligible effect on total tourism numbers. Visit Tampa Bay says 28 million tourists came to Hillsborough County last year and spent $6 billion while they were here. Even if the Rays sold out every game and every person in attendance was a tourist who had never been here before, that's still a maximum of 2.5 million new tourists, less than 9% of our total annual tourists. And yet revenue is supposed to be increased by 10 times as much as our current tourism-based revenue? That math doesn't math. Myth number two. This time it'll be different. It's a mixed-use project. That's not true either. Lots of stadium projects over the past few decades have been mixed use, and none of them have paid back the taxpayers. Glendale, Arizona did it. The project went bankrupt and they lost their hockey team. Kansas City did it and says the project is now unlikely to ever be profitable. And in Cobb County, taxpayers are currently paying an additional $15 million a year due to the massive costs of maintaining a pro sports facility. And they're still waiting on a single new job to be created. A University of Chicago poll of professional economists found overwhelming agreement that providing state and local subsidies to build stadiums for professional sports teams is likely to cost the relevant taxpayers more than any local economic benefits that are generated. Myth number three. This is just a loan. A loan is when you give someone money and they promise to pay it back. The Rays have not committed to paying anything back. The current proposal is no different than the previous one, other than that the money being committed from your tax dollars is coming from a different bucket, the same bucket that we currently use to pay for renovating fire stations, fixing police cars, and paving roads. There is no loan or any form of a loan involved at all. We don't ever get that money back because even in an absolute best case scenario, we only get a sixth of the money we invested in the project back. Myth number four, it's just $80 million. All of your taxes. Even if you live in Tampa, the majority of your property taxes go to the county, which is poised to spend almost $700 million on this. $30 million of that money is from disaster relief fund that is supposed to be used to prevent flooding across the county. Some of its money they could use to fix county-owned roads in the city of Tampa, like West Shore, Bay Shore, Columbus, Sly, and Fletcher. And some of its money they plan to sell municipal bonds for. The amount of interest you'll be paying on those bonds is projected to be the highest in 20 years, since before the mortgage crisis of 2007. How much? Around 70 million of your tax dollars are going to go to institutional investors buying the county's bonds so that they can afford to help build a baseball stadium. On top of that, none of this accounts for the costs associated with moving a college campus and other county facilities that are in the project zone. Another few $100 million. There are a lot of other problems I have with this stadium proposal. It illegally restricts your right to make public records requests about the project. Tampa puts in all this money, but the stadium ends up being owned 100% by the county. And the contract puts Tampa taxpayers on the hook for a blank check to pay for any additional costs of stadium renovations and repairs in the future. Thanks for watching.